If you're new to Deception Bytes, hit the like and subscribe button and be sure to hit the bell to be notified of future videos. If you wish to support the channel, the links are in the description below. Now, fasten your seatbelt. Here we go. Okay, guys, believe it or not, it is Wednesday, February the 20th, and boy, are we ever behind because I have taken a couple days off. I needed the rest extremely badly. So anyway, I'm back and I'm going to get us caught up. I'm going to do my very, very best to get us caught up tonight, even if it takes several videos. But I'm just going to start. We were missing a couple from the 17th that was posted after I had uploaded my video. Then we're going to go right into the 18th. Not sure if it'll take one video or two, but I'm going to attempt it in one. Then I'm going to go on to the 19th. And I haven't even checked today to see if there is Q post, but I assume there is. So I need to get us caught up on that as well. So it's going to be a long night. But, you know, I need to get us caught up, and I want to get us caught up. I'm glad to be back. All right, let's get right into it. Okay, now, the first one that we missed from the 17th is this one, and it was posted at 11:30 at night, so that is why we missed it. But it's got a link to a Twitter account, and underneath it says, "Do you believe in coincidences? Kitchen is hot." Cute. Now, you know that saying, if it's, you know, if you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen. I think that that's what he's talking about, that, you know what, the kitchen's hot. Now, let's go down and see what the tweet has to say so we can kind of connect those two thoughts. William Barr is arriving at a Justice Department that desperately needs an infusion of credibility, writes Kim Stossel at the Wall Street Journal. And Donald Trump tweeted that along with, and this was an article, opinion, Bill Barr's hot mess. And that's when Q said the kitchen is hot, talking about the Justice Department. The atmosphere in the Justice Department is red hot because he's coming in at a time when, you know, things are a little dicey. So Q says, well, you know what? The kitchen is hot, and if you can't stand the heat, stay out of the kitchen. Well, many people could not stand the heat, but I do believe that Barr is up for the job. That is why he was appointed by Donald Trump. I trust his judgment. It seems that others trust his judgment because he was confirmed. So there you go. Now, on to the next one. It seems to me that we've already looked at this. It is the deltas. It's a graphic of the three deltas that Q did on the 17th. And if you look at it, and I could swear we have already looked at this. I think that this is a repost of the same thing, but there were three deltas, meaning that Q and POTUS posted, like Q on the 8chan board and POTUS on Twitter, they posted literally seconds apart, and they call that a delta. If it's under 1 minute, it's called a delta, and a zero delta. And there was three of them that day. So let's go on to the next, because this is just a little bit bigger graphic of this, because, I mean, this one we could read, hopefully. Hang on. If I make it a bit bigger, hopefully we can read it. This is the 17th at 1:28. This is at 1:28. This is at 46 seconds, 57 seconds. So under a minute difference between the two, actually just seconds. And then we had this one that was 13:29:07. This one, this post by, or this tweet by POTUS is this is 1:29:07, 1:29:40 seconds apart. And then the final one is 6:44:38, and this is 6:45:13 seconds apart. All right, so those were the three deltas from January 17, showing again that there is definitely a connection between POTUS and Q. No question about that. There's been so many of these. In fact, Q tells us it's the 17th. He did the 17th delta on February 17th. Coincidence? Don't think so. 17 is the 17th letter of the alphabet is a Q. So, yeah, I think he was making a statement there. It's pretty obvious to me. And he says, Q thanks the person that did the graphic. Excellent graphic. Seconds matter. And they do, especially in a situation like that. I mean, 3 times in one day, what are the odds that the president and Q would tweet within seconds apart? Astronomically. They're astronomical, mathematically impossible. And I would say that it's approaching mathematical impossibility. Absolutely, no question. So, mathematically impossible, 17th, Q. Now, he may have been saying, I may have misread this, because he may have been saying he did this on the 17th, not that it was the 17th delta. I don't know if anybody has counted up how many deltas there's actually been. That would be interesting, a little bit outside my scope, because it would take a whole lot of digging to find that out, but and going back through old posts. But he may not be saying this is the 17th delta. He may be saying this was done on the 17th day, which is Q. So, not sure there, but let's go on. And now we are on to the 18th as of that post, and let's get up to the next one. There's lots to go through on the 18th. I'm going to try and do it as quickly as possible without, sacrificing, accuracy and depth. So this is the 18th, and Q has put this, referenced this from an anon that references this article by CNN that says former acting FBI Director Andrew McCabe says President Trump's own words were among the reasons top officials decided to open a counterintelligence probe and obstruction of justice investigation into him. Yeah, right. I'm sure it was just because of his words, not because they were upset that Hillary didn't win or for any other reasons. I'm sure it was just his words. Yeah, we believe you, Andrew McCabe. All right. Now, Q says, classic deflection. The dog ate my homework. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, he's being questioned now, including questioned by the media, and he's doing whatever it takes to make excuses, just like the dog ate my homework, and it's an excuse. Well, that's what he's doing. He's just making excuses, and he's got a book to sell, right? So he's going to say things as provocative as he can to elicit a response and to make people want to read his book. So that's what he's doing. Now, classic deflection. The dog ate my homework. Evidence of crime is what you need, Mr. FBI. Not dislike and bias to open an investigation. And of course, it was not opened on any evidence of a crime. No, this is probably one of the only times in history where they've gone after someone to invent a crime. They didn't commit a crime, but they needed to have him under surveillance so that they could invent a crime, which is what they did. It was purely dislike and bias. Former acting FBI Director Andrew McCabe says President Trump's own words were among the reasons top officials decided to open a counterintelligence probe and obstruction of justice investigation into him. And that is a big load of, well, something a little soft and smelly. Okay, well, and this has the link to the article, which we're going to look at in a second. And this is interesting because Q says, dead cat bounce. Nothing can stop this. Q. Now, what is a dead cat bounce? Well, it's something that is used in the stock market, and you refer to a stock as a dead cat bounce if it's up here and all of a sudden it takes a dive, and just before it gets to the bottom, it bounces a bit, because what happens is when everybody's dumping their stock, And I know this just because I have a few stocks, nothing, extraordinary, but, every once in a while I'll put a little bit of money into it. And that's happened to me before. Now, thankfully not often, but you've got a stock and something happens, something unforeseen happens, and everybody starts dumping that stock. And then you start thinking, you know what, this really is a good stock, so maybe this will come back up. So maybe I better buy now that I've sold up here and still made a little bit of a profit and I sold. Maybe I should buy when it's really low and wait for it to ride up again. And so a lot of people, desperate, hoping, will start investing when it reaches its bottom, and there will be a temporary bounce to the chart. They call that a dead cat bounce, because even though it bounces, the cat's still dead. So, and the stock's no good. So when that happens, and it's seen all the time, dead cat bounce. So anyway, that is what he's talking about. He's saying, look, you're going down. You might have had a little bounce up because you're getting, some publicity from CNN and others, and people are listening to you right now. You got a book out. Yeah, that's a dead cat bounce, but this cat's still dead. You're going down. That's what he's saying. Plain as day. All right, let's look at the CNN article. My little cats are over there, both with their own little bowl, eating so quietly. Let's hope that continues. All right, and this is actually the link to the Twitter where this is from. And let's go take a look at this CNN. I'm not going to read it all, but just so that we can see where this article came from. Former acting FBI director, Trump's own words prompted counterintelligence investigation. And former acting FBI Director Andrew McCabe outlined on Sunday the reasons top officials decided to open a counterintelligence probe and obstruction of justice investigation into President Trump. In an interview with
former acting FBI Director Andrew McCabe says he was
in an interview with CBS Scott Pelley on 60 Minutes, McCabe said Trump had been speaking in a derogatory way about the Russian investigation for weeks. Yeah, I wonder why. There's no obstruction of justice, and no amount of effort on their part can make there be Russian collusion and not obstruction, but Russian collusion, and no amount of effort on their part was able to prove it. Mueller has nothing. Nobody has any evidence. And even though, little Adam Schiff has said, oh yeah, I've seen the evidence, he's a liar. No, he hasn't, because if he'd seen the evidence, then, well, first of all, it's classified, so there's no reason he should have or could have been able to see that evidence. And second of all, there is no evidence. Otherwise, Mueller would have brought it. So anyway, so he was speaking about it in a derogatory way. Well, yeah, I think almost anybody would if they were under investigation for no reason. Which they viewed as an attempt to publicly undermine the investigation. He said officials were concerned by the president's own word. McCabe said officials looked at the following events. Trump asked former FBI Director James Comey to drop the investigation into former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn. Trump asked Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein to include Russia in a memo the president requested outlining reasons to fire Comey, which Rosenstein did not do. Trump fired Comey, and understandably so. He should have been fired. Trump made public comments linking his firing of Comey to the Russia investigation on NBC. Trump met in the Oval Office with Russian officials where Trump reportedly said that firing Comey relieved great pressure. I don't believe that. Don't believe it for a second. Not going to read through all this because it is, after all, CNN, and we cannot be confident that CNN is reporting in an unbiased manner. In fact, if they were, it would be the first time they've ever reported on the president, the current president, in an unbiased fashion. So we have no reason to trust them, and I most certainly do not. All right, so I think we understand what that means, and I think we can go on to the next one. which is this. And somebody has done this wonderful graphic, and they deserve kudos for that because it really is. And obviously, Q liked it because he used it, and he said impressive, most impressive. Q. Well, let's take a bigger look at this graphic so we can see exactly what it says. It obviously caught Q's attention, so let me see. Well, hopefully I can see a bigger one. Maybe not. Oh, this is a little bit bigger, not a whole bunch bigger. Let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger still for you all. I know some of you are on your phones. Now, some of this is a little bit blurry. This one says 45, as in, I guess, new day, new hero. I like that. 45, as in number 45, president. New day, new hero. Absolutely. This we've seen before. Tarmac. Love it. Spring 2018. Actually, this, I believe, will be coming to a head, I hope, during the first half of this year. I don't know, but we'll see. It says tarmac, and again, it's a little bit, well, we see boom. We have it all. No deals. Boom. Impossible to believe. I can't remember. I can't see what that. Okay. Oh, toxic to those connected. Absolutely. And this one is FISA Gate. Absolutely. And honestly, I really don't know why this isn't a bigger deal. Like, really, this is bigger than Watergate, if you ask me. It's a lot bigger than Watergate ever pretended to be. And yet, you'd never know that, would you? By the news. Then we have this. Trump, 2020. Make liberals cry again. Re-elect Trump 2020. Make liberals cry again. And I'm looking forward to seeing that because they really do put on a show, don't they? Boy, oh boy, I have seen some meltdowns that I just had to shake my head and think, okay, you don't even get meltdowns like this in a kindergarten class. And I know because I've taught a kindergarten class before. And yeah, seriously, their tantrums and shenanigans are way worse than children. All right, and then this one we've seen before, even on the desk of the president. Sanctions are coming. Yes, they are. So, and here, enjoy the show. So, yeah, whoever did this did a wonderful job. Very, very good job. So, let's go back. And it's true that memes kind of take things, complicated ideas, and put them in a way that just gets through to people very, very quickly. So memes are important. Q recognizes they're important. POTUS recognizes they're important. And this movement has certainly had its share of memes. Okay, now let's go up to the next one, which I was a little bit gobsmacked over, I must admit. Yes, gobsmacked. I said gobsmacked. I'll say it again. Gobsmacked. I don't know. It's a word that I learned from an Australian friend that I had, and I've liked it ever since. She also always said a cup of tea, not I want some tea. It was always a cup of tea. Anyway, she goes, I think I'll have a cuppa. It's strange, but you know, different places say things differently, and it's kind of interesting, I think. All right. So, let's see if I made a link to a bigger graphic, and I did, because this is important for us to see and to understand. Okay. Gavin Newsom's keeping it all in the family. Now, let me just read this, and then we're going to look at this graphic because it's important. Gavin Newsom will be the first Democrat in more than a century to succeed another Democrat as governor, and the succession also marks a big generational transition in California politics. A long dominant geriatric quartet from, that's funny, from the San Francisco Bay Area, Governor Jerry Brown, Dianne Feinstein, Barbara Boxer, and House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has been slowly ceding power to younger political strivers. Moreover, Newsom is succeeding someone who could be considered his quasi-uncle, since his inauguration continues the decades-long saga of 4 San Francisco families entwined by blood, by marriage, by money, by culture, and of course, by politics. The Browns, the Newsoms, and the Pelosis, and the Gettys. The connections date back at least 80 years to when Jerry Brown's father, Pat Brown, ran for San Francisco District Attorney, losing in 1939 but winning in 1943 with the help of his close friend and Gavin Newsom's grandfather, businessman William Newsom. Now, let's look at the graphic. Okay, let's look at this. Now, I will try to make this a little bit bigger so you guys can see it. We've got 4 families in here, each represented by this column, by their own column. We've got Brown, Governor Pat, and we've got Jerry Brown, governor. So Jerry is governor. His father, Pat, was also governor. Then we've got the Pelosi family, and we've got John Pelosi. And we're going to look at the connections in a minute. We've got John Pelosi, then we've got his wife Nancy, Paul, and Ron. Okay, so that is under Pelosi, and Pelosi is House Speaker. John is partners in Squaw Valley, which connects to William Newsom. So that is the next column over here, Newsom. And this is William. And underneath we have Barbara, Tessa, and William Jr. And then we have Gettys informally adopt Gavin. So here, let's look at the connections just in these 3. Pat is connected to Brown campaign. Okay, I'm not sure why. Oh, okay. Pat Brown is connected. Okay, William, rather. It should be going this direction. William Newsom is connected to Pat Brown through campaign money. And governor approves Squaw Valley concession for Newsom and Pelosi because William Newsom, and Pelosi's husband John are in business together. Well, isn't that cozy? Now, William Jr. is a lawyer to the Getty family, and this is the last column, Getty, Jay Getty, Gordon Getty, Billy Getty, and William Jr. Newsom is lawyer to Paul Getty, and also as judge helps change trust law to benefit Gordon, retires, administers a Gordon's trust. So he's connected to both the father and son here, and also he appoints William Jr., Jerry, son of Pat, and is as the governor appoints William Jr. as judge, and then as judge he helps change the trust law that benefits Newsom, and also John Pelosi. And down here overshot the mark there a little. Okay, down here, Gavin Newsom is informally adopted by the Gettys, and Pump Jack Business seeded by Getty Trust. So, interesting. So Billy, son of Gordon, is, helping Gavin's business. So yeah, it seems a little incestuous, these 4 families. They seem to have all sorts of connections between, they're all in politics, and they've all been rooted in politics for generations, at least 3 generations. I didn't know that. I really didn't know that, but kind of explains why it's such a mess in California, doesn't it? Now, let's go back and see what Q has to say. So, So he says, example, California. So he's using this as an example, probably of incestuous type politics or nepotism. But anyway, it's why things are so messed up, because when you give positions to people based on who they are rather than what they know, it's always going to be a big old mess. And we know that. So we've looked at that. What family runs California? Well, looks like there's several. I don't know if there's any one family, but these 4 families and 3 generations are what runs California, or has been running California up until now. They are all connected. Yes, well, we just saw that. They are all connected. Wealth, power, influence, rigged. The more you know. Q. So I think that we can assume that it's rigged when we see all these interconnections. I mean, it's pretty obvious that it's rigged, but they may even be, and I believe that they are, rigging elections. I really do. Obviously, the Democrats, all those Democrats did not win this past election, the midterm elections. No way. We know that. So it's got to be going on in other places. Yeah. They win at all costs. And did you see that Kamala Harris, piece of work, telling you, because she says, oh, I think we need to do away with the electronic voting because then Russia can't hack the voting machines. Right. As if Russia hacked our voting machines. They didn't. But she's like, oh, we need paper ballots. What? How is that any better? Because it doesn't stop illegals from voting, does it? Having paper ballots, we can still have foreign influence in our elections, and have been having foreign influence in our elections for how many years back, because the illegals are voting. So that is interference, and a paper ballot's not going to stop that. So anyway, it was absolutely ludicrous and asinine. I was listening to her say that, and I was like, what? Honestly, these people don't make sense. And when you look at the things that don't make sense, you always have to ask yourself, well, why are they doing this? Because it has to benefit them in some way. And generally, it's pretty obvious. Once you look at it that way, like, okay, this doesn't make sense to me, so it mustn't make sense. Instead of doubting yourself and thinking, well, it doesn't make sense, but maybe it's just me. It's not you. If it doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense. And there's a reason why they're doing it. And it will invariably be a reason that benefits them. So let's go on. Now, here is the next one, and this is February 18th still, and another link, a link to another article, and Q says, and rightfully so, it takes courage to speak the truth these days. Boy, does it ever. And not just these days, actually, the last several years, it has taken a lot of courage because, and the scripture says that. I know you're not all believers, but many of you are, and scripture says that in the last days, men will call good evil and evil good, and that's exactly where we are, because all the things that should be good are pointed to and called evil, and those things that are evil, like letting a newborn baby die, after it's been born, and saying it's, abortion, that's evil. And yet, you've got people marching and saying, no, this is right, it's good that women have, the control over their bodies. I don't see how that benefits anybody, letting an infant die once it's been born. You can put it up for adoption. There's many people that would love to have a baby that can't. So let's go to this article and take a look at this. CBS's Laura Logan on media bias. Unless you seek out Breitbart, you won't see the other side. Let's see what she's saying here. Laura Logan, foreign correspondent for CBS's 60 Minutes, said Breitbart News offers the other side of news media relative to what she described as a mostly left-wing and partisan Democrat news landscape in the U.S. and abroad. Now, it seems to me that she has now lost her job, if I'm not mistaken. I'm going to have to look that up for sure. If you happen to know, let me know in the comments below. And, just make sure that you read a few comments, because what happens is you all are so helpful that whenever I don't know something, I get like a zillion answers to the question, which I appreciate because I know you guys are just helpful that way. I learn a lot from you all. All right. She offered her remarks in an interview published last Friday with the Mic Drop podcast hosted by retired Navy SEAL Mike Ritlin. Ritlin characterized U.S. news media as absurdly, I can never say that word. It's a word that I can't pronounce. Absurdly left-leaning and supportive of Democrats, further describing the status quo of American news media left-wing and partisan Democrat bias as a huge effing problem and disaster for this country. Logan concurred. I agree with that. That's true, she described. She described U.S. and international news media as mostly liberal, adding most journalists are left. And that is a fact. That's a fact that actually Q pointed out to us a long time ago. And we looked at the percentage, the actual percentage of Democrats versus Republicans in the media. And it was way skewed. I mean, way. It was like 90% or something like that were Democrat. So there's no question that that is a fact. Now, Logan grouped Breitbart News and Fox News as dissident outlets relative to the mostly liberal news media landscape. She said, visually, anyone who's ever been to Israel and been to the Wailing Wall has seen that the women have this tiny little spot in front of the wall to pray, and the rest of the wall is for men. To me, that's a great representation of the American media, in that this tiny little corner where the women pray, you've got Breitbart and Fox News and a few others, and from there on you have CBS, ABC, NBC, Huffington Post, Politico, whatever, right? All of them. And that's a problem for me, because even if it was reversed, if it was vastly mostly on the right, that would also be a problem for me. And I agree. You do need to have dissenting voices. Absolutely. You don't want everyone to agree. You really don't, because it's not what's in the best interest of the country or in the best interest of us personally as Americans. So it is important to have a dissenting voice, but it needs to be equally. When you have like 90% that are espousing a view that very few Americans actually hold. When you look at it, most Americans do not go along with what has been coming out of the Democrats' mouth. Even Democrats have said to me, I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed to be a Democrat. So, yeah, I mean, you've got most of the media touting a viewpoint that applies to very few Americans. All right. My experience has been that the more opinions you have, the more ways that you look at everything in life. Everything in life is complicated. Everything is gray, right? Nothing is black and white. News media, homogeneity, I can't say that word either, but it's like homogenous. When you have a homogenous news media, you're being lied to, right? How do you know you're being manipulated? How do you know there's something not right with the coverage? When they simplify it all and there's no gray. Yeah. I mean, I'm really leery of somebody that says this is all black and white. It's black and white. Very few things in life are black and white. Very few. But there are some. But anyway, that's what she's saying. It's all one way. Well, life isn't like that. It isn't. If it doesn't match real life, it's probably not. something's wrong. For example, all the coverage on Trump all the time is negative. That's a distortion of the way things go in real life. Logan warned, one ideological perspective on everything never leads to an open, free, diverse, tolerant society. That is so well said. So well said and so true. The more opinions and views of everything that you have, the better off we all are. So creating one ideological position on everything throughout your universities, throughout academia, in school and college and media and everywhere else, that's what concerns me. I don't have to agree with everybody. And it is. When you have one side decide, speaking, this ideology that most Americans don't even hold, then you're being brainwashed, right? When everything you hear, school, everything, and even the churches are being infiltrated, big time, big time. That's been worrying me for about 15 years, actually. I had been researching doctrine and false doctrine and how all of this was coming into the church and where it was coming from and so forth. And it's alarming, very alarming. All right. Logan added, although the media has historically been left-leaning, we've abandoned our pretense, or at least the effort, to be objective today. We've become political activists, and some could argue propagandists. And that's exactly it. Is propaganda. And there's some merit to that. Logan cast Breitbart News as a useful barometer of the other side of the news media. This is the problem that I have. There's one Fox, and there's many, many, many more organizations on the left. The problem is the weight of all these organizations on one side of the political spectrum. When you turn on your computer or you walk past the TV or you see a newspaper headline in the grocery store, if they're all saying the same thing, the weight of that convinces you that it's true. You don't question it. Because everyone is saying it. Unless you seek out Breitbart on your computer, you're probably not ever going to know what the other side is saying. And that is so true, and I see that all the time. When I'm talking to people, they're not even aware of the issues on the other side at all, because they never hear it, and they never seek it out. We don't even question if what we see on social media is real or not. We don't even question if a grassroots movement is really grassroots. There's a way to start a grassroots movement. You write an algorithm and you create all this outrage, and you're basically throwing out all the sparks that light the fire. So then it becomes a grassroots movement because it takes nothing to set that in motion. But did it really begin as one? And if it didn't begin that way, but was manipulated and paid for by someone and serves someone's political purpose, is it really what we believe it is? No. And we all know that. People were manipulated into doing that. Who's behind it? Who's doing it? And why are they doing it? And what else are they doing? Those things are profoundly significant, and we're not even trying to find out who it is. That really bothers me. Logan dismissed news media claims allegedly rooted in singular anonymous government sources as unreliable. That's not journalism. It's horseshit, she said. Responsibility for fake news begins with us, said Logan, referring to journalists and reporters. Logan recalled that Media Matters for America targeted her following a 60-minute report she filed related to the September 11th, 2012 Islamic terror attack on the U.S. diplomatic compound in Benghazi, Libya. I made one comment about Benghazi, remarked Logan. Then I was targeted by Media Matters for America, which was an organization established by David Brock, who has dedicated himself to the Clintons. It was their known propaganda organization. In February of 2011, Logan was sexually assaulted and nearly murdered by numerous men in Cairo, Egypt, while reporting on the ousting of then Egyptian President Hosni Mubarak. And she shared some details of the attack's nature. Piece by piece, they tore all my clothing off and just tore my body almost to pieces and tore my insides apart, recounted Logan. I saw people taking pictures. I remember fighting, being raped, and being able to sometimes push people away, and then I remember just realizing that there were too many of them, and it was over and over and over again, and that there was always someone else where you could fight one person. Towards the end of the interview, Logan quipped, "This interview is professional suicide for me." Yeah, I think it really was. And it's too bad, but boy, this woman's been through hell and high waters. I can't even imagine going through what she went through. And if it's true that she has been fired, I pray that this woman gets another job, a better job, and her talents are able to be used the way they should be. All right, let's go back. So Q definitely wanted us to know that, and now this makes perfect sense. The comment, it takes courage to speak the truth these days, and it does. And most people who do speak the truth, and I can verify that because it's happened to me in my life. You speak the truth, and you automatically have a bullseye in the middle of your forehead, and they will do everything in their power to destroy you because they don't want. And I'm not talking about this. I'm talking about other things I have been involved in prior to this. So yeah, speaking the truth, you're gonna pay. The truth costs something. It's never for free. It always costs something. So, all right. Let's go on. And Q here. Oh, let's go all the way up. I didn't get to the very top of it yet. All right. This is a long post, but okay. So here we are. And Q is referencing an anon who put this just a little snippet of the article there. CBS's Laura Logan on media bias. Unless you seek out Breitbart, you won't see the other side. And below that, I don't think we need to look at that again because we've already looked at it. And down here, oops. Let's look at a bigger picture of this so that we can see. Okay, let's make it bigger still. Okay, March for Life exposes sickening media bias. She offered her remarks in an interview published last Friday with the Mic Drop podcast hosted by retired Navy SEAL Mike Ritland. Ritland characterized U.S. news media as absurdly left-leaning and supportive of Democrats, further describing the status quo of American news media's left-wing and partisan Democratic bias as a huge effing problem and a disaster for this country. Then we have this from Breitbart. March for Life exposes sickening media bias. Logan concurred, "I agree with that. That's true." She described U.S. and international news media as mostly liberal, adding, "Most journalists are left. The media everywhere is mostly liberal, not just the U.S., assessed Logan." And underneath, we have a picture that we saw in the article earlier of her sitting down with her interviewer. Now, let's go back. And underneath that, we have this. And let's go take a look at this. Now, actually, we have read the article in its entirety, and that's what this is. It's just that an anon has pulled it out and made it easier, to get to. But we don't need to look at these two because we've looked at it already, and I read it in full, and I think we are fully capable of understanding what was stated, and I don't think we need to go over that again. But underneath that, these two clippets of the article, then we have this by Q. And, I'm a little bit perplexed by LB. Usually that means pound, but it says repost, and then it's got LB in kill brackets. Does anyone know what that means or why Q posted it? Because I am not sure. So if somebody knows, put it in the comments below, and that would be good. But I don't know. I could not figure out why he put repost LB. And underneath, he's got the very link to the article that we've looked at already. And he said it takes courage to speak the truth these days. CBS's Laura Logan on media bias. Unless you seek out Breitbart, you won't see the other side. And there is a link to the article that we've already looked at. And underneath that, Q has written, read between the lines regarding mainstream media left. Research for yourself. Trust yourself. No one news location will provide unbiased content. And that's true. Hashtag wake up. Hashtag facts matter. You are the news now. Q. And we are the news now. And just because you don't have a YouTube channel and you're not out there every day doesn't mean that you're not the news, because there's people, you're listening to this, I'm sure that you listen to other alternative outlets for me, or platforms. So when you're at work or at home or whatever, you tell people what you found out, probably, unless they're really adamantly left and don't want to hear it, which is the situation I'm in. So anyway, yeah, we are the news. We are the world. Okay, let's go on. And this, again, is just another link to the article. We've looked at it. We don't need to look at it again. Let's go on. No, really, let's. Okay, here's the next one. And it's got a link to Trump's Twitter. Excuse me. Now, I've clipped that out for us to save a little bit of time. And let's take a look at that. I never drink Diet Coke. And I've been drinking tea exclusively. And I poured a glass of Diet Coke. And it's like the bubbles are getting to me. But I try not to burp into the microphone because that would just be rude. Okay, Donald Trump. This was an illegal coup attempt on the President of the United States. That by Dan Bongino on Fox and Friends. True. Trump adds true. And it is. And for him to admit that is freaking massive. Massive. All right, let's go up and see the next thing that Q is letting us know here. So he shows us Trump's Twitter account. Then he says, the President of the United States, the Commander-in-Chief, agreed that an illegal coup was attempted against him. Stop and understand the gravity of acknowledgement. Do you believe nothing will happen? Well, if nothing happens, I think everybody will lose respect for Trump, because it's huge. When have you ever had something of this magnitude? But the thing is, I mean, there's been 2 attempts on his life, on President Trump's life, right? According to Q, and I believe Q, have no reason to disbelieve him at this point. So, yeah, I mean, but to go to all that trouble, I mean, to take him out regardless. I mean, they were going to take him out regardless. If they had to lie, if they had to scheme, cheat, steal, whatever they had to do. And if worse came to worse, they were willing to kill him. Wow. So do you believe nothing will happen? No, I don't. I believe something will happen. It better. It must. Or you won't be able to maintain the rule of law in this country. And it could be that the reason why they wanted to get those anti-lynching laws passed quickly was because they probably know that when the people find out, the people themselves may lynch these people. Because remember, Q saying it's not even going to be safe for them to walk down the street. There'll come a day when they won't be able to walk down the street. Well, why not? Because people would string them up. They're angry. So I think that that's probably why the anti-lynching laws were passed, because, you know, that doesn't keep them from being hung. It just keeps them from a mob. Well, it doesn't really keep them from a mob. A mob could still do it. It's just that it's illegal. It's a federal crime. But, you know, having someone go through a military tribunal and being executed is far different than the mob mentality. So lynching and hanging are two very different things because they're approached in two different ways. All right. Do you believe no one will be prosecuted? No, I believe that they will be prosecuted. POTUS making statements for no reason? No. Has he ever made statements for no reason? I mean, people may say he does, but there's always a reason. How do you introduce the truth to those still asleep? Very carefully. D-class coming. See, that D-class is going to be the linchpin. It's going to unlock a lot of stuff, a lot. They do not want that D-class to come. Really, they don't. So that is how the truth will be introduced to the people, the rest of the people that are still sleeping. The message must be direct. Bypass the non-reporting of the truth, facts, by fake, spin the narrative news. Q. So yeah, the message does have to be direct because you can't trust that the news is going to report it. You know, when do they ever report anything accurately when it comes to this president? I don't think they've ever reported anything accurate about our president anyway. All right, let's go on. And here is the next one. Okay, and again, Q is referencing an anon, and here is the, I love James Wood. I do follow him on Twitter. I think, he is a genius. He is a member of Mensa, so this man is extremely smart, and I do follow him. I like his politics, and I like his personality, this is from his Twitter account, and this anon is making reference to it, and Q is making reference to the anon. So James Wood says, if these actions were directed against a sitting Democrat president, this would be a Watergate level story in the national media by now. Was there an attempt by an acting Deputy Attorney General to weaponize the DOJ in a presidential coup d'etat? Yeah. That's exactly what happened. Exactly. So, underneath, and they have just written this out, what I just read there. Don't need to read it again. And then beneath, Q, referencing this, says, attempt to isolate at FBI/DOJ. Do you believe the FBI/DOJ acted alone? No. We already know that. We know that it came from the Hussein administration, right? We know it came from there. So the FBI and the DOJ did not act alone, and also Hillary Clinton was involved, State Department. So no, they are attempting to isolate the FBI and DOJ and say, oh well, this is a problem over here. Here's the problem. No, it's much broader than that. If Hillary Rodham Clinton directed and financed the dossier in order to obtain the bulk so-called evidence in order to generate circular news article, think Yahoo, and obtain a FISC, which is that's the FISA court is called FISC, sign off, is it reasonable to think that members of the intel apparatus, State Department, White House, foreign allies, etc. were also involved? Well, we know they were involved. We know that from Q. We've seen it. They're definitely involved. So yeah, this isn't just a FBI and DOJ thing. It's not just those organizations that need to be cleaned out. I mean, obviously, Hussein is gone, Clinton's gone, but it needs to be addressed. The biggest scandal in our known history. A new word for treason will need to be invented. Why does Hussein continue to proudly state his administration was scandal-free? Not even close. Not even close to being scandal-free. This guy, he just makes stuff up. Define projection. And we know what projection is. Projection is pushing onto others what you are doing yourself. And that happens a lot. We see that a lot with the Democrats and with other people as well. And I've used this example, but in case somebody's new, it's a good example when a husband or a wife accuses the other of cheating, but they are the actual ones that are cheating. And I had that happen. I was married, well, it was a long time ago now, and my husband accused me of cheating. Well, I had never cheated and it would never cross my mind to cheat, but he was cheating. So in his mind, if I'm cheating, she's cheating. And that happens a lot in marriages, a lot. All right. Projection. Okay. Let's go on. Shall we? We shall. Here we are. Up at the next one. Okay. Now, Q says in this next one, how can an entity known only as Q, faceless, nameless, fameless, etc., begin to ask questions on 4chan, now on 8chan, and build something of this magnitude? It's curious, isn't it? I mean, if that was just a pimply, teenager in their mother's basement that was, kind of a nerdy guy and doing a live action role playing game, do you think it would have the worldwide following that it has? Do you think it would become a worldwide phenomena? I don't. How can this same Q entity garner such a massive amount of worldwide mainstream media, fake news, attention? Well, that attention comes in the form of attacks. We know that. He's not been given any positive attention by any mainstream media sources yet. Hopefully, at some point, we'll get to that, but I don't know. I'm not keeping my breath held. How is it possible this Q, now this is a good question, how is it possible this Q entity can forecast future events or know when POTUS is about to tweet? That's a good question, isn't it? We should maybe ask some of these people that think that Q is a psyop, and well, he could actually be a psyop, but they think that this is all fake and just made up. Well, how does he do that then? I'd like to know, wouldn't you? If it's fake, the onus should be on them to come up with, okay, well then how is he doing it? Explain to me how he's doing it. Nobody can explain that. How is it possible future proves past regarding information provided? Well, if you're the one that's creating the future, then you're able to predict it, are you not? How is it possible this Q entity, an entity who began by merely asking questions on 4chan, 8chan, was able to fill in the blank? Think logically. Yeah, like how could he do the things that he's done? How could he provide us with the information he's provided us with? How does he know things before they happen? Sometimes the very date. He'll say, how does he know that? Shouldn't they have to explain that if they're calling it a conspiracy? Shouldn't they have to explain why or how he's doing it? If they're so certain that it's just a bunch of nonsense, then they should be able to prove that easily, shouldn't they? I would think. Think logically. People are craving truth. People are craving transparency. People are craving equal justice under the law. People are craving good. People are craving right. People are craving true freedom. People are craving fill in the blank. Proofs negate falsehood. Conspiracy attacks. He's right. These proofs, all these people that are saying it's a conspiracy, when he's providing the proof, that is negating that. But still, people just go, oh, it's a conspiracy, it's a conspiracy. They never say, well, they never answer any of the questions. Well, then how does he know this? How's he doing it? They don't know. Those who attack have an agenda or remain plugged into the biggest disinformation campaign to be ever witnessed. That's the truth. And ask yourself why liberals are always angry. I don't know. I've asked myself the same thing. It's like, gee, calm down. Like, take a Valium. Really. I mean, they just get off their, like, out of their heads, you know. The night that Hillary lost the election, did you see them crying? Like, as if, you know, their mother or father had just died, or their spouse, or something horrendous. Their house just burnt down. You'd think, I mean, it was unbelievable. Ask yourself, why are liberals always angry? Don't know. Why do they curse? Because they can. Why do they slander, push fake labels, racist, sexist, etc.? Why do they create emotional outbursts when challenged? Because they're not able to challenge us on the actual points. Like, they can't counter our actual talking points. They can't enter a rational conversation and enter an adult conversation, which is back and forth, give and take. So they resort to screaming and yelling and, you know, the sort. Why are they violent? Why do they form mobs? Why are they incapable of listening to the other side? Fascist? When you don't have facts to support your argument, present logical reasoning, you must resort to the above tactics. That's right, because they're not going to ever win an argument based on their countering your points or offering something substantial to counter it with. They're never going to do that. They can't. They can't win an argument. So they have to resort to those tactics. The narrative is designed to keep people in a constant state of fear, thereby forcing anger, rage, violence. Emotionally unstable people are easier to control. Well, that's a fact. They want you divided by race, divided by class, divided by religion, divided by political affiliation, divided as human beings. Divided, you are weak. Together, you are strong. When you are strong, you think for yourself. When you are strong, you challenge what you are told to believe. When you are strong, you are awake. When you are strong, you are no longer controlled. They don't want that. Trust yourself. Trust that you are not alone. Trust that there are good people right beside you, fighting for what we know to be right. God bless you all. Where we go one, we go all. Q. And I think that post is not only an excellent post, but it's self-explanatory and very full of truth there. All right, now we're going up to the next one, and unfortunately, there we go. Okay, and Q has put in a flag here along with the definition of a patriot. And we're going to look, because I've made it a little bit bigger below, and it says, fellow patriots, what you're about to learn, what we are learning, should not only scare you, but intensify your resolve to take back control. Freedom. The information that will become public will further demonstrate the criminal and corrupt, pure evil, abuse of power that the Hussein administration undertook in joint efforts with domestic and foreign dignitaries. Where we go one, we go all. Q. And he links to the video, which unfortunately I can't play because of the music in it, but it is the video that says, and he's linked to it dozens of times, that says this video will get Donald Trump elected. If you search in YouTube for that video, this video will get Donald Trump elected. You will find it. It's an awesome video. If you haven't seen it, you must, because it's really quite extraordinary. And it talks about our movement, so that is the video, and this is a bigger graphic that Q posted, and it says Patriot, a person who loves, supports, and defends his or her country and its interest with devotion. A person who regards himself or herself as a defender, especially of individual rights against presumed interference by the federal government. Traitor, a person who betrays another, a cause, or any trust. A person who commits treason by betraying his or her country. All right. Now, let's go on. Pretty self-explanatory there, and pretty easy to see why he posted that. And then above that, he posted another map or another flag of the United States. And this picture is called "God Bless the United States of America. Prepare." So that's interesting, if you ask me. What is he telling us to prepare for? Not sure. But we can assume that this has meaning because everything always has meaning in Q posts. So now let's go up to the next, and it is this. Q posts this from an anon who says, Dan Coates out, forced, soon. Source equals Trump friend Chris Ruddy. Now, Q confirms that this is right because he says, interesting, this leaked already. Q. Now, who is Dan Coates? Well, Dan Coates is the Director of National Intelligence. And he's an American political and former diplomat serving as the current Director of National Intelligence since 2017 under the Trump administration. A member of the Republican Party, he previously served as a United States Senator from Indiana from 1989 to 1999, and again from 2011 to 2017. He's 75 years old, and according to this, and according to Q, he is going to be out soon, forced. Now, Q could have denied that, but he didn't. He just said, interesting, this leaked already. So we know that that is a fact. So we can look for that. And let's look at this. Here is the next one. Links to an article by The Hill. And Q says, fear is real. Something big is coming. Q. And beneath this, interestingly enough, we've got this I have to shake my head over, really. And I'm not going to go out and read this because he provided us a link to the Twitter, which was just this. And I think that this encapsulates everything that we need to know. I just don't see a purpose for us going out and reading the entire article. But Warren, as in Pocahontas, hi, how are ya? Hi, how are ya? Okay, I'll stop. Warren, Poca Warren, now she might think she's an Indian, but she'll never be chief. She'll never be commander-in-chief. And Warren, officials have a duty. Oh, a duty, she says. Officials have a duty to invoke the 25th Amendment if they think Trump can't fulfill presidency. And she's obviously saying that he can't. So she's defending Rosenstein and others and saying, well, that's our duty. We have a duty to invoke the 25th. And the 25th says that he's not able to fulfill his presidential duty because he is mentally not able. He is incapacitated mentally. Well, I don't think that applies to Trump, but it could apply to her, but she's not president. So the 25th Amendment doesn't apply to her. But I mean, anybody that thinks they're an Indian when they're actually probably the whitest woman in America. I'm just saying. So there you go. I'm thirsty, dang it. All right. And let's go on because we can. And here's the next one. Chatter uptick regarding how to effectively prevent crosstalk regarding anti-narrative across all social media online platforms. Ability to prevent crosstalk narrows communications only to fake news. By censoring everything that would question the main narrative, there's no crosstalk. you're only getting one side, and only one side, and always one side from the mainstream media, right? And and there's no hope of some people ever hearing anything different because it's being so heavily censored. And that's the truth. Ability to prevent crosstalk communication. Crosstalk narrows communications only to fake news, which provides for more control over what is released to inform the public. A series of scenarios is currently being conducted, game the system, to test response, risk, and calculate results. Censorship added layers of inserted code through keyword targeting in bio, history, and comments, plus individual platform mods has failed to curtail the problem. So they're still not able to get everything out. And I know that a lot of this works on keywords because there are certain keywords that if I put the keywords in, that video will be, censored. So I some of those keywords I've learned the hard way, and some of them I'm still learning. So it's hard to get around that censorship. It really is. But as Q is saying, it's not working perfectly. Their modes of censorship and their algorithms are not working perfectly. So China, Russia, Iran fake takedown hacks of select platforms for maintenance is one scenario being game played. 0 day. I'm not exactly sure what 0 day is. If you guys know, let me know in the comments below what you think it is. It says countermeasures in place. Example, think emergency alert system. Think White House controlled new RT news website. Think White House controlled new video stream platform. Think here. Should this occur, immediate steps will be taken to classify each as public utility, essential public services to gain appropriate government regulation control. How do we make things public? Now, what is he saying here? He's saying that what they want to institute is media that is controlled by the White House for official White House communications. That way, it does not have to go through mainstream media. It can't be creatively edited. It can't. They can't say, "Well, we're just not going to carry it. We don't care what the president has to say." Because if it was state-run, if it was controlled by the White House, then you wouldn't have the news. They would be able to control the. Hang on. Oh, excuse me. That just, anyway. So that is what they're planning to do. And I had heard that, but Q is verifying that that's correct. That is, he's telling us to think along those lines because there's a bunch of information to drop. A bunch. There is a colossal amount of information. Q said this is the largest intel drop in the history of the world. So we know that there's, a plethora of information to come out. And can we trust the mainstream media to get it out? Can we trust them to get it out accurately? So they're going to need something like that in place to get it out that can't be censored. So it's a great idea. Great idea. Now, I see potential for abuse there as well. But on the other hand, I don't see how you can get around the mainstream media at this point. He's done a very good job with posting on 4 and 8chan. He had to do that. He had to absolutely circumvent the mainstream media, and he did. And he's getting his message out. But to push it to the public at large, you're going to need something like that, where it cannot be censored or creatively edited, if you know what I mean. All right, and here we are at the next one, and Q is referencing this by an anon, and it's pretty interesting. We're going to have to go to the bigger graphic because we have no hope of seeing this. And it says, this was a great proof. And he is responding to this anon, and he's saying anons are months ahead of the news. And then Q adds, the Corinthia Hotel. Q. Okay, well, this has to do with Strzok and his little lover, Lisa Page. Not sure if they're still lovers. I bet not. I wonder if he's still with his wife. You know, I wonder if she left him after finding out of his terse with his little peccadillos with Lisa Page. Don't know. All right, let's get this a little bigger so we can see what it is. And over here it says transcripts of Lisa Page's closed-door testimony provides new revelations in Spygate scandal. This was from January 11th. And transcripts of 2 closed-door testimonies by Lisa Page. Let me... it's either way too big or too small. Hang on here. Okay. Transcripts of closed-door testimonies by Lisa Page, the former Assistant General Counsel of the FBI, have provided new insights into the actions of the FBI, DOJ, and others, including CIA Director John Brennan, regarding their investigation into Donald Trump. Included in the transcripts provided to us is information suggesting Brennan was aware of the so-called Steele dossier in early August 2016, and that he included information regarding the dossier in a briefing given to then Senator Harry Reid. And other key points in Page's testimony before Congress. The FBI appears to have considered investigating President Trump for obstruction of justice both before and after FBI Director James Comey was fired. Page says the DOJ refused to pursue gross negligence charges against Hillary Clinton over her use of private email server to send classified information. And okay, FBI agent Michael Gaeta, head of the Eurasian Crime Squad, who received the dossier from former MI6 spy Steele in July 2016, is referred to in the transcript as Steele's handler. Interesting. The FBI maintained a previously unknown verification file for the Steele dossier. Congressional investigators did not previously know of its existence. John Carlin, the head of the DOJ's National Security Division, was kept abreast of the FBI's investigative activities through contact with then Deputy FBI Director McCabe. Page worked directly for DOJ official Bruce Orr for at least 5 years and had met his wife, Nellie, once. And the role of FBI agent Jonathan Moffa and DOJ official George Toscas may have been greater than initially assumed. Page noted that she only traveled abroad once while she worked for McCabe in December 2016. On official business in London, Strzok traveled with her, as did 3 other unnamed individuals. One individual that Page specified as not being part of the trip was Bill Presap, the FBI's head of counterintelligence. Page was prohibited by FBI counsel for detailing the purpose of her visit. Now, let's look and see what this is. Remember this, the kind of blurry picture that Q provided us with, it was a long while back. And remember, it was taken from this picture, and obviously in London because we've got the big I. And remember when Q said, when does a bird sing? And that was, let me see, that was July 27th. And then we have this a little bit clearer picture here. And keep your promise, this is not a game. And that was said to Lisa. Actually, Q was directing that to Lisa. And here is here are the people that are with them. That is Strzok and Page. And there are 3 other people here. Yeah. Oh, maybe there's a 4th. I'm not sure. Very blurry. All right, now let me make this smaller here. It says future proves past, news unlocks the map, anons are months ahead of the news. And let me see this part, what this is. Okay. NSA, this is the traffic camera. Remember, this was, well, this is February 16th. UK, stay alert. Remember that you guys that have been listening to Q for all this time should probably remember that, because I remember thinking, what are they saying? Is there going to be a terrorist attack in London? What is Q saying? And then this from July 27th, it shows this picture with when does a bird sing? Q. And then July 27th, you've got this one, when does a bird sing? Q. And you've got this, keep your promises, this is not a game. So this is the graphic that we've looked at, and let's go back. Shall we? We shall. And basically Q's just saying, look, the anons are months ahead of the news. So something's going to come out about Strzok and Page in London, basically. That's what I believe. And we know that something major happened there at the Corinthia Hotel. Well, I'm sure they were having their little toast while they were there. But it was something far more nefarious than that. So future will prove past, as always. All right, and here is the next one. Q says Q quotes this anon saying they are getting super desperate. And then Q says, yes, they are, and links to an article. Let's go take a look at the article. Okay, restoring trust and accountability. And, whoops, hang on here. NewsGuard uses journalism to fight false news, misinformation, and disinformation. Our trained analysts, who are experienced journalists, research online news brands to help readers and viewers know which ones are trying to do legitimate journalism and which are not. Yeah, you really think that they're doing that? No, they're not. It's the same old, same old. And so in order to come up with this, Q's this anon saying, boy, they're really getting desperate, and Q's, agreeing with that. Yes, they are. Absolutely, they're getting desperate. They'll try anything. Okay, let me see how much more we have of the 18th, because if there's quite a bit more, I'm going to break, because I've been going for quite a while, and I don't want to wear us all out. I think there was a lot on the 18th. So actually, I'm going to break here, and I will be back with the second half. I'm going to be recording it immediately. So by the time you've listened to the first one, the second one will be up already. Then we'll be going on to the 19th. All right. Well, thank you guys for listening. I enjoy spending this time with you. I really do. I was missing and wanting to get back to recording, but I really needed those 2 days. I've absolutely exhausted, so I feel much better, and I'm back. So anyway, I'll see you guys later tonight. Hope you enjoy your evening, and I will talk to you later. Alrighty.